In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
Welcome to episode 6. We have a great show. Andy Grant is a best-selling author, speaker, transformational energy coach, Akashic Records Reader, healer, and is the founder of Real Men Feel, a movement encouraging men to come out of the emotional closet. Andy has been producing and hosting the Real Men Feel podcast since February 2016. As a survivor of multiple suicide attempts, Andy knows how low we as human beings can feel, and he's committed to helping people realize how magnificent life is meant to be. Learn more at theandygrant.com. And now, on with the show. Hey, Andy, thanks for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Cool. Hey, I was looking at your website and theandygrant.com, and you have a long list of training and certifications. Very impressive. Can you give us the lowdown on exactly what you do, which I guess is basically reading people's energy and helping them kind of right themselves? But do you mind going into your kind of what you do and your process?
Sure. So for 10 years ago, I was first trained as an energy coach. And it allows me to tune into people's energy and read the energy of a situation, a block. So when I'm coaching people, they'll be telling me their story and I'm really paying attention to the energy. And then I'll stop them whenever I have enough and we'll walk through things and clear things. More recently, I become an initiate of the Modern Mystery School, and I'm now a certified healer with them. And that has opened up tools that go back over 3,000 years. There's no book, there's no video. It's all taught human to human, mouth to ear, and all the healings are done in person. The main healing is called life activation, and it literally brings more light into a person and lights up their intuition, their skills, their gifts, their purpose. It makes life meet you halfway there, the things you want to do, the things you want to create. You're not just attracted to what you want to do, like what you want to do starts getting attracted back to you. So that's one of the coolest things I found. And I had heard of mystery schools, I think even growing up, like watching shows like In Search Of, I'd heard of ancient mystery schools, and I didn't know they still existed or that any were open to the public. But I found this one 4 years ago, exactly 4 years ago this month for me. And it's been a blast.
Two questions. One, how did you find it? And the second one would be, when you say, how do you read energy? Do you see it? Is it like a meter that we're seeing on our voice levels? Do you sense it? Is it a vibration that you pick up in your mind? How does that work?
I'm really visual when it comes to energy readings. And so, I'll close my eyes. Someone will just say their name 3 times. I'll tune into them and I get a picture of them. Usually it's visual. I'll describe what I'm seeing. Sometimes it comes with a feeling as well. It can really be all sorts of different things. When I also read the Akashic Records, and that's a very auditory experience for me. We open the Akashic Records and it's all these beings of light. Can be people that have crossed over, but it's guides and angels, all this great place of support for people. And a client asks questions and I kind of hear a chorus of information and I just repeat what I hear. So kind of each modality can be different, but when I'm tuning into energy, it's you might call it using my intuition, connecting higher self to higher self. There's lots of different terms for it, but I just call it energy reading just to keep it simple.
I've interviewed Brad Hudson, whom you know very well as a shaman. I've interviewed a medium. A medium just kind of picks up energy, but from dead people, I guess, right? But you
Right.
pick up energy from alive people, obviously. Do you have any, do you kind of ever cross over on the other side too and pick up energy beyond the living, or are you mostly just attuned to the energy of people that are kind of right here with us on this earth?
Yeah, I've had that experience, picking up things from people that have passed when I'm in tune to someone else. So it's usually been someone very important to whoever I'm dealing with, and I've gotten messages and feelings and descriptions from kind of beyond. But we are all, every single one of us, regardless of what you believe, we are all reading each other's energy all the time, right? My eyes, your ears, they're all reading energy. And the energy I'm talking about is just kind of going beyond those traditional five senses. But I'm sure everyone's had the experience of walking into a room and feeling the tension or of a fight that happened there, or walking into a room where everybody's laughing at a joke and you start laughing too, but you don't even know what the joke is. So all energy is contagious. We all receive it. When I was young, I was very depressed. I was very suicidal as a kid. And only as an adult did I learn that I was really empathic. I was literally picking up the emotions and energy of other people and thought it was me.
Yeah, wow, that's great. That's one of the questions I was going to ask. Before I go there, and I also want to talk about the Akashic readings that you do, how many sessions when you work with a client, is this kind of a one and done, or is it an ongoing thing? And then after you kind of help them work through their issues, do they need to come back for an annual tune-up or something? How does it work as an energy coach with your clients?
Normally, I ask people to commit to at least 3 or 6 months, and people come to me for all different issues. So usually it's kind of a crisis situation. So they come with something they're really focusing on, and we blast through it. It's usually a call a week for 3 months. And by the end of it, I teach what I'm doing as well. So it's not just you need to come see me. It's now you can run with these tools yourself. But if you ever get into bind again, come back. So someone will see me every week for 3 to 6 months, and then we might drop it down to once a month, and then it might just drop down to whenever they feel it. For Akashic Records, people just kind of do that when they feel like it. I've talked to some people going on like 6 years, and they might do it like every quarter. Other people feeling a bit more of a crisis. They have a lot of questions. They might talk to me, every other week for 3 weeks, and then again, perhaps don't hear from them again.
I mean, the Akashic Records is kind of a fascinating subject to me. I'm trying to get my head around it. So can you kind of explain what the Akashic Records is, how you came upon it, and kind of how you access it?
So Akasha is a Sanskrit word that means primary substance. So it's a vibrational recording of everything you've done, everything you've ever thought, everything you've believed. And there's an Akashic record for each person. There's an Akashic record for kind of each living thing, each bit of consciousness. If you make anything with a legal entity, if you've created a business, it'll have its own set of records. And I access the records. It's very simple. I access it via a prayer. It's called the Pathway Prayer Process. I learned it from Linda Howe, who teaches around the world this same process. I open your records so that you can ask questions, and I'm just kind of there as a translator. And I'm just saying everything I get. And at the end of a session, because it wasn't my consciousness, I wasn't accessing anything within me, I forget most things about it. If someone asks me, the day after a session, hey, can you explain what you said about this? And I'm like, no, I'll take your word for it that I said that, but I don't recall that. But that's why I record them for everyone, because usually people notice even more things, when they listen to it again. But the Akashic Records again, there's something I'd heard of for a long time. As part of my year-long energy coaching program, we kind of ended it with asking our own Akashic Records to open and updating ourselves. And it felt like a software upgrade. I really had this physical experience for that. And from that moment on, I was like, I want to learn more about this. And I happened to be teaching an energy tools workshop. And the next day, someone was at that same center in Massachusetts teaching how to read the Akashic Records. That was 2013. And I've been doing it since then.
So when should people seek out and find out stuff from their Akashic? When should they do an Akashic reading? What is it, the kind of situations they should call upon you for that?
The benefit of knowing, having a place where everything you've ever done is captured in one place, and I use someone's current full legal name to access the records, and that gives me the information that helps them most right here and now on this day. So it's anytime someone's at a crossroads, anytime you keep doing the same thing and not getting somewhere, you have a sense of something you're supposed to do, but you're not quite clear what it is. It's all that sort of indecision, because the Akashic Records, they will never tell you what to do. They advise you what has the most light, what has the most potential when it comes to choices. It's not as if, so it's interesting because your life is sort of mapped out. You come here with a plan, but the records don't go into the future because your records are being written with every decision you make. Every moment of every day is being recorded. Some people believe that when you go to sleep, your consciousness, when you dream, your consciousness goes up and kind of uploads that day's information to the records. So it's best when you have questions. I've had people talk about relationships, about career, about health, questions around money. Sometimes things come up. A healing can happen based on a sort of a past life experience, but it's not really kind of this entertainment thing like, tell me my fifth life ago, or was I Napoleon? And, it's what really matters to you gets a serious answer. So if you ask questions that you can ask anything, a yes or no question usually gets a yes or no answer. But you can follow up. I always remind people that they can ask for explanation. You don't have to take an answer as it was. If you didn't understand it, ask for more. Like, you'll never be scolded for asking something. You just might get an explanation of why they can't answer it.
Do you just kind of download what you're getting to them? Do you kind of just speak, in real time what you're getting to them and it's being recorded for them?
Yeah, it is real time. When I first started, sometimes I speak even faster than I speak normally to kind of keep up with the information. People have told me that my voice changes or I get a different accent at times. And I've listened to those recordings when people said that and they were right. So yeah, I'm kind of just a straw. Like I'm just passing information and I'm trying to pass all the information I get. Usually it's auditory. Sometimes it'll be a visual and I'll describe to the person. We kind of take it apart. But I always tell people that, if what I'm saying doesn't resonate with them, then something's wrong. So it's clarity, it's ahas. The biggest thing people report is like everything they were told they knew, they just didn't trust it.
Now, is the Akashic Records, is that kind of like a form of consciousness or what is it out in the universe? I mean,
yeah. So you could kind of compare it to the quantum field. It's the field of possibility. It's where just thought is. Things haven't come into form yet.
So it's like the wave particle that becomes a proton or whatever when it's observed or whatever, right? Because okay.
Yeah. Because Linda Howe describes it as a vibrational recording of everything your soul has ever done.
So on the energy healing, is it kind of like Reiki, where you just kind of it doesn't drain energy from you. It doesn't take anything from you. You just kind of manage it like a surfer on a board riding a wave, or does it impact you? Are you drained after energy healing?
No, I'm really, in all the work I do, I'm usually really energized after it. I've gone into sessions with people, right on the cusp of saying, of canceling or, I feel run down or beaten down, whatever it is. But once I start focusing on someone else, like whatever I had, it just goes away. Anytime I help someone else heal, like that energy is passing through me. I'm really just helping to direct things. So there's no depletion of myself, and there's actually, I get a great benefit as well.
Because when you're reading people's energies, there could be some pretty bad stuff attached to them. Do you ever have to deal with that, or does that not kind of fall into your line of work as an energy healer?
No, it certainly does. And again, I mentioned earlier, my background, I'm a survivor of multiple suicide attempts. I tend to get people that have that in their background at some level or not. I just know it when people reach out. Some new person emails me and I'm like, oh, that I can just sense that that's part of their background as well. And I have some processes, with the mystery school. I have some healings and cord cuttings and negative energy removals that get used a lot. And that's kind of the first thing I do, when I see people in person. And, I've recently, just this past summer, I had a major healing myself, and it was called an ancestral clearing, and it literally removed demons from my DNA. And it was something that had been carried on for generations in my family. So I had, had this evil, this darkness for so long that I didn't know what life was without that.
So that raises a question, because when I talked to a medium and she said she can't do a reading on herself. So I'm wondering, I know, and you've gone through things, but you're also, many times you're just loving life and you're very positive and you help tons of people. Are you unable to heal yourself when the depression and the suicide tendencies come? Is that because mostly people can't heal themselves, they heal others, or can you self-heal for the most part? And you just have to apply the tools and it sneaks up on you and you got to just bounce back and remember your kind of toolkit.
So it's degrees and levels. When I'm using all of my tools, I'm fine. When something knocks me off balance, my kind of oldest pattern is to say, screw it, nothing works. Like I give up fast. It's really weird. But this demon, this evil energy that has now been removed from me, it was a demon around these suicidal thoughts. And it went back forever. And I would have experience of, there was a point when I really realized that the suicidal thoughts were not coming from me. They were coming from outside of me. And the more work I did, the clearer I got. Other people could see this. Again, so that's why I discovered this ancestral healing. And it was amazing. It really was like a being born again experience. I felt lighter and better and happier than I ever had. And that became, it's like since it happened, just a regular Tuesday afternoon can feel like the best day of my life.
Yep.
And like that's the new kind of normal without this dark cloud kind of just waiting for me to be lulled or have this false sense of security. And, just, it was always there lurking in the background.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, even if you got over the hump, was part of you always worried like cancer, it would come back? And now, since you've been through this ancestral healing, do you feel like you're totally cured and you don't even worry about it going forward?
Yeah. And the biggest, I used to believe life sucked and then you died. And when I felt good, I would think, oh, that's the lie. And right now I felt the lie and the truth will return soon enough. And now it's kind of been reversed. That I can now see that, again, I was under the influence of other energy. I didn't grow up with any sort of religion. I thought, I like monster movies and scary horror shows. But the idea of evil, I really just thought it was stories. But now I've experienced it. I've seen it. I've had people help it be removed from me. And it really is like, the mystery school describes evil as anything that is stopping your progression. So it can be, an addiction. It can be negative thoughts. It can be all these different things. But often they're outside of us. It truly is in the battle of good and evil. Evil can show up in lots of different ways to try to stop us from our own progression, from our own growth.
And why does evil exist? Because we're supposed to learn, or why do you think it exists? Just the yin yang thing, or?
No, we're in a world of free will. We have free choice. So the ultimate choice is, are you going to choose good or evil? That's really what it comes down to. This whole place called Earth is kind of this experiment to see if humanity overall chooses good or chooses evil.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Because people just try to reconfigure what life is and consciousness and stuff, and it comes down to a simple principle.
Yeah, I mean, if humanity followed the 10 Commandments, we'd be a very different place right now. If everyone that considered themselves a Christian actually lived like Jesus Christ did, we'd be an entirely different species now. But we always have free will.
Do you need a new mattress? I do. After my divorce, my ex-wife took the bed. If you've been shopping around like me, you know how expensive it is to buy a high-quality mattress that you'll also be happy with for years to come. But that's what makes Allswell different. You see, Allswell features hybrid mattress technology, giving you the comfort of memory foam with the support of individually wrapped coils, all at an unbeatable price. And you can even try it for 100 nights risk-free. If you're not satisfied with the sleep that you're getting on one of their heavenly mattresses, simply ship it back. Plus, every one of their mattresses comes with a 10-year limited warranty, so if you ever have any problems, you don't have to worry about getting stuck with a lemon. When it comes to affordable mattresses, don't sacrifice on quality or luxury. Allswell is the best purchasing decision that you can make. Now, if you'd like to get free shipping on your first mattress from Allswell, simply follow the link in the show notes to let them know that we sent you and to help support the show. When you listen to the podcast, there's a lot to be afraid of. But with Allswell, you never have to be afraid of a good night's sleep.
So a lot of people will say that they're spiritual, not religious. Are you in that same boat, or are you both?
Yeah, no. So I wasn't raised with any sort of religion. So I thought as a kid that made me an atheist. And I remember like protesting that I wouldn't read the Bible for like a Cub Scout merit badge about the Bible or something. So I've actually it's in my quest for feeling better, I was willing to do anything. So the only true religion I've ever been a part of, and you could debate the true religion part, but the only religion I've officially been a member of was Scientology. And I got kicked out of that in I think in like 9 months.
Really? Okay. They didn't want to keep you. You always hear horror stories like they try to keep them, but they threw you out.
Yeah. So they had convinced me that they were the only thing that could help me, and they had worn me down. And then at this last minute, some other different higher up came in to audit me, which is their big process.
And that's like the whole engram
Yes.
thing, kind of almost. Some of these engrams are built into you that kind of form your behavior.
Yep. But they're so anti-psychiatry that they decided at the last minute before they would put me into. I was going into their healing protocol that was going to have me like literally live in a sauna for like a full week and just drink some magic elixir and sweat all day.
Wow.
And I was so desperate. I've been so sick of being sick and tired of living that I was willing to do this. But at the last minute, they said my involvement with psychiatry was too much and they couldn't take the risk on me. And they said goodbye. And I was more distraught than ever.
I was going to say that makes me feel like
anyone that's been suicidal, when you're at that point, it's this horrible combination of hopelessness and helplessness. So when someone convinces you they can help you and you buy into it, and then they say, "Oh, changed our mind, we're wrong," then it just comes back more than ever. Yeah. But in the aftermath, and since there've been shows about them, what really happened was, someone higher up saw that I had been hospitalized multiple times. I'd seen lots of different psychiatrists, so I was a big risk to them. So they didn't want anything to do with me because of fear of lawsuits and bad PR. Yeah. Wow. If I stayed involved with them and I did attempt suicide, the world would go, "Oh, Scientology, that's what did it."
Now, this what's it called again? That this program you had, the mystery. I'm sorry, could you repeat what it was? The program.
So it's called the Modern Mystery School. Is the whole program? It goes back to the lineage of King Solomon. It goes back over 3,500 years. There are 7 ancient mystery schools. This one was open to the public back in 1997.
I was trying to think like secret society or something. Why would they open it to the public? Is it just because they're trying to awaken people or?
Yeah. So this knowledge was kept and protected, and it's why more and more people can access the Akashic Record. Our collective consciousness does keep rising. So we've done enough. So humans could now take some of the teachings from the mystery school, and more people could be called into it. More people could be life activated. More people could become healers and guides and do all of these programs. But I'm sure you've heard from different spiritualists and programs talking about we need the tipping point of humanity. And I've heard it's anything from like 1% to 3%. And if that many people woke up or were enlightened, whatever word you want to use, that would be the tipping point for the entire planet. Trying to get to that point is what opened up the mystery school to allow anyone to come in and take it. There are still 6 other mystery schools on the planet that are still closed. And if you ever saw the movie or read the comic Doctor Strange, that was the Tibetan Mystery School. And if you want to go that route, you got to go to Tibet, hang around, get noticed, wash a lot of floors, scrub a lot of pots. And then they'll finally, they might try teaching you something after you've proven yourself worthy with this dedication. Yeah. The Modern Mystery School is based in North America, but they have centers in Japan, in London, in Brazil, and more just keep opening. But again, as more and more people want to expand and experience their purpose and serve humanity and try to make a better planet, then more things are available to all of us.
Do they have any arch enemies that are trying to stop them from doing what they're doing? And because it's kind of like awakening is changing the mindset, and there's this whole underbelly of politics and whatever that could be going on. So I guess my short question is there, now that they're public, is there like a kind of a detractor that's against them, trying them not to get their message out?
Not any individual I've become aware of, but certainly we're battling the forces of evil that are integrated into politics, medicine, advertising, media. Right? I mean, you can look anywhere and you can see good and bad everywhere, and the bad isn't happenstance. And keeping people under control, keeping people's minds closed, keeping them from asking questions, keeping them from revolting. Evil takes root in the separation between humans. So the more division there is, the more and not even as big as war, but just the more disagreements and the more borders and the more boundaries and the boxes and the labels, it just keeps separating us from each other. And that's where evil can thrive.
Now, what happens to the awakened people once they pass? Are they still recycled in reincarnation, or do you even believe in that, or do they go to a higher level?
We go to higher levels. And this is one reason that even as I had not made an attempt on my life as an adult, but even when I was really close and just wanted to and thought that was the only way, I had this knowing by then that it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to solve anything. I'm going to be in another place, just not physically, and I'm going to have all this crud still to deal with. It's not going to solve anything. Enough spiritual people that had had near-death experiences that I trusted just told me that, you're here to deal with things that are best dealt with while you're a human being. But we are immortal consciousness. We existed before we came into physical form. We're going to exist after physical form. I used to not believe that at all. When I was suicidal as a kid, I just want everything to stop. I was like, life sucks. I just want this to stop. I hoped it was nothing. I wasn't trying to get somewhere else. But now I'm glad to be here as long as I can be, and to keep working on my personal progression and keep working on being of service to other people to help their progression, so that in the next phase, we're further along. And that can flow a little easier. But Andy Grant will end, but the essence of me, my soul, my energy, my consciousness will continue, and will have a memory of what I did here.
And so you've not had a near-death experience. Sometimes things like that gets people to really know that there's something. So you're knowing that there is something is just based on all the training and certifications and kind of your life experiences of being able to read the Akashic Records and things like that. Is that accurate? Or?
Yeah, I've had some really powerful meditative experiences, really connecting and sense knowing that I'm more than this body. Again, when I was younger and suicidal, I just thought I was this meat suit. I was told that my brain chemistry was wrong and there was nothing that could be done with it, and my emotions ruled me, and I've lived enough of life experience to prove to myself that that's not the case.
You've done a couple things to help others, more than a couple things. You've written a couple books, and you have a video podcast called Real Men Feel. Do you want to talk a little bit about those and kind of the genesis of your books, and then now to your podcast that you're doing?
Sure. So originally I was a screenwriter in the 90s. I was a communications major. I'm in the Screen Actors Guild, and I was in the mid-90s, I was going to Hollywood and meeting with producers, and then I suddenly just got this message, just sense of knowing that I couldn't keep making up stories. I had to tell my own. And I put together a book proposal, and it was going to be an autobiography and all the tools that I had learned, and it was called Surviving Myself. I had got an agent helping me to put the proposal together and guide me through different publishing houses. The few places that got back to me all said that very much needed, very well written, but nobody will publish this because nobody knows who you are. So instead of feeling defeated and giving up with that, I began self-publishing smaller books about the tools that helped me the most. So I have books on affirmations, which I used to make fun of and thought were ridiculous until I actually tried them, and I felt better. Books about gratitude and journaling, a book about holotropic breath work, which is just this mystical experience achieved just through breathing differently that really got me to experience and believe the infiniteness of myself, and that I'm just much more than these negative thoughts, that I really mourned that I had survived attempted murder. And not, because I had attempted to murder myself. So I had this whole mourning period that was just incredibly profound and healing. And then my most recent book, I summed kind of all these up. It's a book called Still Here, How to Succeed in Life After Failing at Suicide. And it has all the tools I wish I knew when I was 17 years old.
Do you have another book in you? Because your past year was pretty life transforming.
Yeah, I've got many books in me. I've got lots of various chapters of different things. The next thing I want to write is kind of trying to have a comedic look at suicidal thoughts and just how silly they are. And if you can step back and witness your own thoughts, like I was willing to die on the weekend because I had a job. I didn't want to disappoint work. So I would always plan to die on the weekend. And just like, what the hell is that? It's just the lunacy. To look at my planning proves that I really didn't want to die. Right? So that's what I'm plotting next, because I think it'll be nice and short. But the goal is to be able to help people to laugh at their own thoughts by letting them laugh at mine. And they have a number of books coming out of Real Men Feel too. So Real Men Feel is a podcast. It started 4 years ago. And again, I just got this hit. As an energy coach and an Akashic Record Reader, I'd say 90% of my clients have always been women. And I kept getting called to do something for men, and I've got to call men out, and I've got to, men are pitched, deodorant and clothing and underwear. That's all just for them. So I had to do something that this is just for you, man. This is the thing for you. And I was asked to give a speech about masculinity. And as I'm preparing for that, I'm like, how am I doing this? I've always am I even a man? I don't know. I'm this emotional mess. I'm doing all this woo-woo stuff. What the heck am I? So I started playing, and just one of the sentences that I was playing with that stuck with me was, what if real men felt? What if because I'm willing to cry, society saw me as a brave and courageous man? So it began as this old social media network called Blab that didn't last long, but you would just gather and people could see you talking. They would just join you. So it started as a monthly Blab, and I liked it. So it quickly became weekly, and I just recorded my 169th episode. And it reminds men that they're human. And as a human being, we're entitled to the full range of emotions. There are not some emotions that are for men and some that are for women. We can all feel all of them. And indeed, if we're willing to feel all of them, we will lead a better life.
Can you give us a short list of some of your favorite Real Men Feel guests and episodes?
Oh, man, that is putting me on the spot. The last 6 months, I've had a really powerful stretch. There's an episode I did with a woman called Dr. Lulu, and she is an African-American surgeon and pediatrician. She quit her 6-figure pediatrician job because that office wouldn't let her go speak to an elementary school about suicide prevention. So now that's all she does, and she has a practice just for kids at risk. And during the conversation, she got me, this middle-aged white guy, to feel what it was like to be an African-American mom. She talked about how afraid she is for her children if they put on a hoodie and go out at night. It was just, she broke down in tears. I was emotional listening to it. So that was one of the most potent episodes for me as a host asking questions that I've ever had.
Well, that's great that she trusted you that much too. That's excellent. That really breaks a barrier right there. All right, give us another one.
Another recent, it's the title is called Real Men Do Feel, because I was playing with a couple of guests had complained that, the real men part of the title, it kind of put them off and triggered them. And that recalled me that I always was triggered by that. And real men cut wood, or real men are, ride mountain bikes. And, so if I don't do that, I'm not real. But it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek play on that for the title of the show. But I also mean real men as in authentic men. And that's what he responded to. So anyway, he's this young guy. He was actually in the mob. He was a drug dealer. He was a criminal. His dream was to become a big drug kingpin. And he was well on his way. Had a near-death experience. Had an experience of Christ consciousness. And is now a healer. And he was so open and authentic. And I felt like I've known this guy forever. And it was the second time we ever talked in our lives. And it's one of the most open, authentic, and spiritual discussions I've ever had in my life.
I think one of the guys you interviewed was Ronnie. I'm trying to remember his last. He's on the Bigfoot Expedition show, right? What's his last name?
Yeah, Ronnie LeBlanc.
Yeah, okay. He's from the same town you grew up in, right?
Right. Yeah, we're both from Leominster, Massachusetts.
Where there's like a kind of a paranormal triangle in Leominster, isn't there?
It's a place called Monsterland, and to me, it was a place you just went and drank at. So anything that was weird that happened to me there, I just thought it because I was drunk. But I didn't realize it really there was real history behind calling it Monsterland, which I didn't realize till I was an adult.
So you were that big hairy monster they saw walking naked in the woods.
Yeah.
It wasn't Bigfoot.
At times, I do not doubt that.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, since I did a documentary on the paranormal, and since I've been interviewing people and stuff, I watch the Travel Channel and I recognize people on shows. I mean, I don't know if you get that too. I don't know if you even watch that. It's kind of crazy. The world is kind of small with that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, before we close, have you had any crazy paranormal experiences, like seeing a ghost or anything in your life that you would like to share?
See, I wouldn't even call them crazy and paranormal anymore. In working with people, I've felt, so ghosts are real. Ghosts are just other energy. It's people that haven't fully left here. And sometimes it is as kind of as stereotypical as they just need to be pointed to the light. Someone needs to remind them that they're done, or they need a little help and figure out and want to say goodbye. So, ghosts are very real. I was recently in a mystery school class, and our teacher was just telling a story about the dangers of having an antique mirror in his bedroom. And there's a danger in having mirrors face your bed because, so things on the other side in other dimensions can use mirrors to come and take over your body while you're asleep. Now, it doesn't mean every time you have a mirror that this is going to happen. It's just a way that things can happen. So I came home and I already did not have any mirrors facing my bed. And I told my mom and I told some friends. And one friend 2 days later said his 12-year-old daughter suddenly was talking about how she travels at night through her mirror in her bedroom. So if you ever come into the room and she's not there, don't worry. That's where she is.
Yeah, I had a weird thing, I'll share it in another episode. It happened to me after I was going to all these haunted houses and stuff, and there is a mirror in our facing the bed. Who knows if that's something to do with it? Yeah, that's crazy. That's an interesting show idea. You're going to get back to the suicide thing really quickly. Just what is some advice you have for people as watch signs? Because it could be a thing that kind of creeps up on you, and before it's too late, you're kind of in this black morass. What would be some watch signs you'd have for people that they should reach out, that they may be thinking about suicide and they should right their ship?
If you notice you don't like things you used to like, if you're no longer taking actions that used to feel good, that was it for me. And then when it was pointed out to me that I didn't even care. Like when I was bad, you couldn't help me because I didn't want help. So I had to hit my personal rock bottom each time before I be like, all right, I'm sick of this. I've proven yet again I'm supposed to be alive and I want to be alive. Help me.
And this is even when you were like very much aware, right? This is even after you had written books and stuff.
2 years ago, I was about to buy cyanide from some stranger on the internet.
Oh my God. I remember that act.
Yeah.
I think I was going to interview you for Afraid of Nothing documentary. And I remember some cryptic email about, maybe we'll see if I'm around or something. And then I think it was during that time period, actually. It's a couple years ago because I made the film a couple years ago. And then I found out you were okay afterwards. I think maybe you go radio silent sometimes. And that's another, if someone's usually out there and they're quiet, you don't hear from them. Maybe is that a watch sign too?
Oh, sure. But you're asking for yourself. Yeah. So it's usually easier to spot in others. And, that's when, if you notice someone's missing, reach out multiple times. Like I ignored emails and messages and phone calls. And there was one guy that kept FaceTiming me and I finally answered it. And I told him everything I was feeling and I felt so much better and he felt better. But when I'm in my darkest place, I don't want anyone to know. I don't want anyone to kind of get me out of it. For me, if you get used to it, it becomes this distorted comfort zone, right? The misery that we're used to can be comforting.
Yeah. I mean, I actually understand that, even though I know it sounds warped in a way, but I went through depression too in my life and I get that,
Yeah.
And now that you've kind of beyond it, what is it about yourself, beyond the energy healer? Who is Andy Grant, the human that now is his demon gone? Who would you say you are now that you really kind of like and embrace beyond the energy healer, just the person that you are? Who do you think that is?
Wow, that's it. So I freaking love me.
That's awesome.
And
that's great, man. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, why? But why? I'm trying to nail it beyond that more. And, I can now appreciate. Yeah, I used to think not killing myself. All the times I was trying to ram my car against a brick wall growing up. Every time I would intentionally drink and drive, daring the police to pull me over, and not going through with something, and having that little voice saying, "Don't," and just go home or just go sleep it off. I thought that was weakness. Now I realize that was my strength. That was my guardian angel. That was all the good in life, right? So now the more I share, the more authentic and vulnerable I have ever been in my life, the more beauty, grace, friendship comes back to me. And that's one of the best things I've ever learned, and I keep proving it over and over. So, yeah, I am authentically me, and sometimes that's been a mess, but now it feels really good, and I share either way, good or bad, to remind people that, because I used to do this to my mentors and teachers. I thought they must be perfect. And they never had a bad day. They never had a bad relationship. They never doubted themselves. But everybody does. And that's okay, right?
Yeah. I wonder if you should change the title of your show to Real Men Feel Good. Because once you accept, embrace your feelings and accept it, then only then are you able to find some relief and some kind of salvation for yourself,
Yeah. I probably have done a show called, I know I did. There was one point when I was really depressed And I decided to do a show from that point. It's me solo, and I think it's called Real Men Can Feel Suicidal and Rise Again. And it's one of the shows I've never listened to because it was so hard to just release that. Because I'm crying. I got snot run down my face, and I'm just in the middle of it and just trying to get through each breath. But I this knowing that my willingness to share this will let someone else that feels that realize they can get through that moment too.
Well, that's awesome. Andy, thank you for your time tonight. Do you mind? Would like to close. Just tell people how they can get a hold of you, where they should look online or to buy your books or any courses that you have would be very helpful. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would like to reach out and kind of help themselves.
Sure. Yeah. There's one hub for all things Andy Grant, and that is theandygrant.com. Don't settle for a substitute. It's andygrant.com. You'll find links to the podcast, Real Men Feel. You'll find links to all of my books. You'll find the coaching, the mystery school healings, all of that. And there's always there's a link there to try downloading some meditation so you can experience the energy work that I do, just being walked through it via recording. And also offer complimentary calls to talk to anybody about whatever's going on for them. And if I can help them, or if there's a class or a book or something else, or even another person that I can recommend them for their help as well. I'm always glad to talk to new people.
That sounds great. And what about an Akashic reading? Is that like a one-time thing? Is that on your website too, the cost for something like that?
Yep,
okay.
That's there too. TheAndyGrant.com has everything that I do and everything that I will do.
Well, Andy, thank you again for your time. It's a great interview, and it's glad to spend some more time with you tonight. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit AfraidOfNothingPodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's AfraidOfNothingPodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout-out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.